Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmanitanjena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam Pravajantam Anupeta Apeta Kritam Rapaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tan Maitaya Tadavo Binedus Tam Savabhutam Hridaya Munimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Bhaktya Vihina Parada Lakshai Kiptashtakamari Tarangamadye Kripa Mai Tvam Sharanam Prapanna Vende Namaste Charanada Vindam Tave Vasmi Najivami Tvayavina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayanam Charanandike Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So we always begin by offering our most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus, unto Sri Guru Pada Padma Nityalita Bhavishta Om Vishnu Padasto Tatsat Sri Srimad Abhaya Charnaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada and Sri Guru Pada Padma Nityalita Bhavishta Om Vishnu Padasto Tatsat Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj under our exalted Rupanuga Guru Varga and all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Okay, so as I mentioned in our chat earlier, just before class, we're going to continue hearing from Srimad Bhagavatam in the chapter just after Lord Narasimha has appeared, dispatched Hiranyakasipu and all the demons. Wait, something's going on here. I don't know if you can hear or not. And then the demigods are all assembling and they begin to offer prayers. But we're going to hear that despite all these different kinds of prayers, the Lord was not pacified. And there's a reason for this, actually, which, sound frequently interrupted. Exactly. You know why? I don't know why, but this Discord is doing something. It all of a sudden blanks out the screen and starts telling me something about, I don't know, saturation. I don't know what it is. Anyway, sorry. I don't know what to do. Maybe I could turn it off and turn it on again. Let's try that. I'm going to turn it off. Okay. All right, so we're going to start with those prayers. But before we do, just a quick mention. I mean, actually, today is the appearance day of Sri Madhavendra Puripad, Sri Srinivasacharya, and Sri Parameshwari Thakur. Parameshwari Thakur being an associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srinivasacharya being, you could call that second generation of Goswamis, right? Who went to Vrindavan just after Rupa and Sanatan had disappeared, right? But took shelter of Jiva Goswami. And Gopal Bhatta was there, Lokanath Das, and it was Srinivas, Narottam, and Shyamananda, who were very close together, who conjointly took instructions from Sri Jiva Goswami, and then on his order went to Bengal with all the literatures of the Goswamis, right? And then from there went and began to preach individually in different places. Srinivas was the senior of them, right? He was the most senior. And his story is quite fascinating. You can find it in the Bhakti Ratnakar. His father was present during the time of Mahaprabhu's sannyas ceremony. And he was so distraught that after seeing it, all he could do was chant Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Sri Krishna Chaitanya for weeks and weeks, months. He was like in a trance. He never even left that place to return home for a long time. And he didn't eat or drink for that entire time. He was a great devotee of Mahaprabhu and raised his son with all of that. And Srinivas later went to Navadvip. He went to Puri, got association with many of the great associates of Mahaprabhu, and ultimately went to Vrindavan and took shelter of Sri Jiva Goswami. Yeah, it's a very, very beautiful story. And Madhavendra Puri, he is the kind of like the root or the first person. He's the Param Guru of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His chief disciple is Ishwar Puripad, who became Mahaprabhu's guru. And he was the first one. He came through the line of Madhvacharya, but he was the first one to express the sentiments of Srimati Radhika in her intense separation. He understood it and taught it, and actually he traveled all over India. He had a remarkable meeting with Nityananda Prabhu when Nityananda Prabhu was very young, and also traveling around India. And they recognized each other for their devotional sentiments and their exalted position, and Nityananda considered him like his own guru. I think Nityananda took initiation from Lakshmi Tirtha, who was the predecessor of Madhavendra Puri, but he considered Madhavendra Puri like his guru. And they were inseparable and so close for a long time when they traveled together. Madhavendra Puri also, later when he had gone to Vrindavan, timelines are a little difficult because you hear these stories, they're not always told chronologically. But he did go, and his nature was not to beg for anything. He was so immersed in his internal service, he would go wherever he went and then sit and do his chanting. And if somebody brought him something, fine. If they didn't, no problem. And when he went to Vrindavan, he was there, sitting under a tree near what we know now as Govindakund. And it was there that Krishna himself brought him milk. And then he couldn't recognize him by Yogamaya, right? But later that night, when he went into a dream state, the Lord came to him again, like a Svapna Darshan, and said, "Oh, same form, same boy. I've been waiting for Madhavendra Puri for so long. I am in my deity form, and this deity was, I was installed by Brajanath, the great-grandson of Sri Krishna, and worshipped for a long time in Vrindavan. But then the Muslims came, and the Pujari, being very afraid, hid me in the woods, in the jungle. And I've been buried there for a long time, suffering the heat of the summer, the rain, the cold of the winter, and now wondering, when is Madhavendra Puri going to come? Now you're here. This is where I am. Come and get me." So he woke up and that morning gathered all the villagers, right? And they all came and went to that exact spot and unearthed that deity form. And that beautiful deity of the deity that represents Krishna lifting Govardhan Hill, right? And like Nathji, right, lifting Govardhan Hill with his left hand, and they installed him. And for many weeks they were doing very elaborate first Abhishek and then Anukuts, every village all around was bringing everything they had and offering to the deity, and merchants from Mathura and others gradually uh, brought clothing, erected a temple, and he was worshipped for a long time up there. When Mahaprabhu came, he wanted to see that deity, but he didn't want to step on Govardhan Hill because he was in the mood of a devotee, and I should not place my feet on Govardhan. But beautiful deity created a pretext where they thought the Muslims were coming, so they brought the deity down and hid him in a village, and Mahaprabhu got to see him there. And then later, on the order of the deity, he went to Puri, right, to get sandalwood and camphor, because he said, "Oh, I'm still so hot from being buried for so long. Go gather these things." And on the way, at Raimuna, he met that beautiful deity of Gopinath, who was famous because they offered him a very special kind of cure every day. And thinking he would like to taste it just to know how to make it so he could make it for his deity, he felt embarrassed about that, thinking, "Oh, I'm trying to enjoy something that the deity has even before it's offered." Embarrassed, he left. But the deity, understanding the purity and the motive of Madhavendra Puri, hid some kheer, stole it from the pujari, hid it, and then woke the pujari up in the middle of the night and said, "Hey, I stashed some kheer under my skirt. Come and get it and take it to Madhavendra Puri. He's somewhere in the village." And pujari went, did all that. Madhavendra Puri became famous, and the deity became renamed as Chura Gopinath, the Gopinath who stole the kheer. Right? And then he went to Puri, got the sandalwood, came back, stopped at that same place, and then his deity came and told him, "Oh, you don't have to bring it all the way back. Just give it to this Gopinath deity. We are non-different, and if you cover him with this, then I will also be cooled." And of course, the local pujaris were thrilled by that. Anyway, Madhavendra Puri has so many pastimes, and Mahaprabhu recognized him as the root. He's the trunk of the tree of this special love of God that he came to deliver. All his devotees represent main limbs and branches, right? But Madhavendra Puri began it all, revealed this for the first time, and instilled this beautiful sentiment in Ishwar Puri, making him qualified to be the guru of Mahaprabhu, who was longing to taste these sentiments. So by taking initiation of one imbued with this, he was showing us that to enter into this mood of serving Srimati Radhika. Mahaprabhu is in the mood of Radha herself. We are being taught the mood of Radhadasyam, but we have to be in the line of a guru who is in that mood themselves, tasting that. They can distribute, they can put that into the heart. Ramananda Roy says, "No one but the gopis can taste this, and no one but the gopis can give it to you." So in our line, we are Rupanugas. Our Rupa is Rupa Goswami, who is also Rupa Manjari, the chief of all the servants of Srimati Radhika. So the acharyas in our line, Srila Prabhupada said, we are Rupanugas. Of course, Rupa Goswami taught devotional service in a very broad way as well. He teaches about all the rasas, but he teaches specifically and most importantly about how to recognize that the gopis are topmost, and for all jivas, the service to Srimati Radhika is the highest aspiration, the highest opportunity to enter into the Leela and service of Radha and Krishna, and to give Krishna the greatest pleasure, right? They are Kamatmika, we are Kamanugas, but Kamanugas in the mood of Tad Tad Bhav Ichamai, not wanting to be Krishna's direct lover. We want to give Krishna that transcendental happiness of conjugal love by enhancing his relationship with Srimati Radhika by assisting her in her service. And that is the topmost position, because no one but Radhika can serve Krishna in the greatest and most wonderful way. All the other gopis are her Kaya Vyuha expansions, the eternal Nityasiddhas, and they represent her various moods, right? Her various bhavs. And when Krishna wants to specifically taste a particular kind of bhav, he'll have some relationship with that particular gopi, or maybe with all of them, like in Rasa Leela. But without Srimati Radhika, there can be no real taste, no complete taste. And so by serving Radhika, we're allowing Krishna to taste that relationship in the most wonderful and complete way. And Krishna loves her servants so much. And sometimes he wants to embrace them and even kiss them, but not in the way that you might think, right? He wants to embrace them and kiss them because they are so imbued with the mood of service to Radhika. He wants to taste that, right? That's his appreciation for them. But of course, their mood is no, we are only the servants of Radha. We don't want to have any kind of relationship with Krishna like that, because that would interfere with their service. They can enter into the company of Radha and Krishna at any time without embarrassment, because Krishna and Radha see them as only Radhika's servants. Whereas the other gopis, the Sambhog Ichamai, the Radhika would feel some embarrassment if in the midst of her intimate, solitary relationship with Krishna in the Kunja, for instance, when they're first waking after, the nighttime Leela, during Nishanta time, if Lalita and Vishaka and others were to come in and see her in this state of disarray, it would feel very embarrassing. But the Manjaris can come in very happily and clean everything up, help rearrange Radhika's clothes, put her ornaments on, decorate them both, and it's all very happy and comfortable. It's very special, very, very special. Anyway, not to try to get above my adhikar, I can just repeat a few things that I've heard. So Madhavendra Puri gave us all of this, right? Srinivas, Narottam, Shamananda, they distributed the wealth of the literatures of the Goswamis, and at the request of Janava Thakurani, they brought those literatures to Bengal. And after the disappearance of Mahaprabhu, very quickly, there were different, there's some deviations in what he taught. And Apa Siddhanta, and even you call Apa Sampradayas, different little groups, right? It always happens after the disappearance of a powerful acharya, after the disappearance of an incarnation. There's always some chaos and some splitting and some dissolution. Followers of Advaitacharya, many of them became confused and split off in an inappropriate way, right? Nityananda Prabhu also, what to speak of Mahaprabhu. So they brought these literatures to establish the proper Siddhanta. And by dissemination of this literature and by different meetings, like the Keturi festival, arranged by Narottam Das on the request of Janava Thakurani, and then all the Vaishnavas, Gaudiya Vaishnavas from all over came to assemble and had wonderful kirtan and wonderful discussions. And what we know is Gaudiya Vaishnavism coming to this day is because of that, right? So, very big day, right? Madhavendra Puri, Srinivasacharya, and Parameshwari Thakur. I just read about him. There's some brief things in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and I can't remember what I was reading. No, there's nothing there on the phone that I can get. So I wonder if we have time to go to the Bhagavatam. Let's see if we can hear some of these prayers, right? So, did I offer my obeisance in English to Srila Prabhupada, to Srila Gurudev? Anyway, yes, and all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. So, after the killing of Hiranyakasipu, right, the demigods became very happy, and They were crowding the sky, the Bhagavatam says, and they began beating drums, kettle drums, and the angelic women began to dance, the Gandharvas, right? And the chiefs of the Gandharvas began to sing sweetly. And then Narad says, my dear King Yudhishthira, the demigods then approached the Lord. They were headed by Lord Brahma, King Indra, and Lord Shiva, and included great saintly personalities and residents of Pritaloka, Siddhaloka, Vidyadharaloka, Nagalok, the Manus, the angelic dancers, Gandharvas, Charnas, Yakshas, Kinaraloks, Vetalas, so many planets, Kimpurushas, right? And even some residents from Vaikunta, like Sunanda and Kumuda. And they came near the Lord, Narad says, who glowed with intense light. And they individually offered their obeisance and prayers, their hands folded at their heads. So like this, right? So now listen to these prayers. Now, what I found fascinating is that by the grace of our Guru Parampara, commentaries on Bhagavad Gita from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and then subsequent explanations, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, our Srila Gurudev, our Srila Prabhupada, right? We understand that devotion has different gradations. This was the first stage when Ramananda Roy was talking with Mahaprabhu, showing how bhakti is the energizing agent for anything that people want to accomplish, right? And it's the underlying force and ultimate purpose in Varnashram. But in Varnashram, it mostly appeals to people with various kinds of material desires, some gross, some subtle, right? And most people, Mahaprabhu says, who say they're followers of Varnashram, they're not really followers, they just give lip service. And of those that do follow, the vast, vast majority are simply interested in material pleasures and elevation to the heavenly planets and all that entails. And out of all of them, a very few may become interested in the soul and the evolution and development of the soul through philosophical speculation, right? And then Ramananda Roy, he tells that to Rupa Goswami, and he gets that from Ramananda Roy, who gives step-by-step examples of what the goal of life is and how to achieve it. And at every step, Mahaprabhu says, nope, this is mixed, this is external. I want to understand topmost what's pure bhakti. And the Bhagavatam is meant to explain what pure bhakti is, right? This is Savai Pungsang Pado Dharmo, Jato Bhaktir Ahokaje Ahoituki Apratyata, Jayatma Suprasidati. Unmotivated, right? No personal interest, and constant, right? Highest Dharma. This is purpose of Bhagavatam. And in these prayers, you can hear from different kinds of devotees. In most of them, there's going to be a recognition, a love of the Lord, but for different, why they're appreciating Him is mixed up with their own self-interest. Oh, you're the one that gave us this, you're the one that gave us that, right? Now, Lord Brahma, his prayer, very nice. My Lord, you are unlimited, and you possess unending potencies. No one can estimate or calculate your prowess and wonderful influence, for your actions are never polluted by the material energy. Through the material qualities, you very easily create the universe, maintain it, and again annihilate it. Yet you remain the same. Without deterioration, I therefore offer my respectful obeisance unto you. Yes, you're the creator, you're the empower everything, you're distinct from material energy, although you're the creator and overseer of it. Right? He's speaking to the Lord and recognizing his Aishvarya, his qualities, right? As creator and maintainer of all. And Lord Shiva said, the end of the millennium is the time for your anger. Because he's so angry now. And Lord Shiva is the incarnation of that destructive anger potency, right? So he's saying, hey, it's not yet time for your anger. Now that this insignificant demon, Hiranyakasipu, has been killed, oh my Lord, who are naturally affectionate to your devotee, kindly protect his son Prahlad Maharaj, who is standing nearby as your fully surrendered devotee. Another wonderful prayer. Yes, you are in charge of creation, maintenance, and destruction, but now, here and now, this demon has been killed. We want to honor your great devotee, Prahlad, who you came to protect. Now you please show him favor. A very nice prayer as well, right? Honoring Prahlad Maharaj. So, King Indra said, O Supreme Lord, you are our deliverer and protector. Our shares of sacrifices, which are actually yours, have been recovered from the demon by you. Because the demoniac king, Hiranyakashipu, was most fearsome, our hearts, which are your permanent abode, were all overtaken by him. Now by your presence, the gloom and darkness in our hearts have been dissipated. O Lord, for those who always engage in your service, which is more exalted than liberation, all material opulence is insignificant. They do not even care for liberation, not to speak of the benefits of Kam, Artha, and Dharma. Another good prayer, right? First he mentions, our role is to accept sacrifice. This demon interrupted it. And yes, we accept sacrifice, but actually, in the truest sense, all these sacrifices are meant for you. And as Krishna explained in the Bhagavad Gita, actually, whenever anybody worships a demigod, they're actually worshiping me. I am the power behind the demigods, right? But sometimes Lord Indra, by the influence of the Lord's energy, may forget. Right now, he's saying everything appropriate, right? But he's also indicating that, unlike Prahlad, who could not be afflicted by Hiranyakashipu, even in his most fearsome way, Indra and the demigods were afflicted. And he interfered with their devotion and their happiness, right? He overtook them and caused them fear and anxiety, right? He's admitting, look, material, compared to your service, material opulence, liberation, it's insignificant. But admitting that he was not so steadfast and unaffected during that time. And now that this demon's been destroyed, he's very happy. And that's appropriate. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chadushkratam. The Lord comes to remove these obstacles from the life of the devotee, to make bhakti more easy, less obstructed. So there's these, three kinds of obstacles, right? Adhyatmak, Adidaivic, and Adibodhic. So he relieved them of the Adibodhic obstacles, with the demons. Then, who else is praying now? Now, saintly persons. O Supreme Maintainer of those sheltered at your lotus feet. O Original Personality of Godhead. The process of austerity and penance in which you instructed us before is the spiritual power of your very self. It is by austerity that you create the material world, which lies dormant within you. This austerity was almost stopped by the activities of this demon. But now, by yourself appearing in the form of Nrsingadev, which is meant to give us protection, and by killing this demon, you have again approved the process of austerity. What is austerity? Remember, when Lord Brahma was seated on the lotus, and everything was dark in every direction, and he didn't know what to do. And then he went into a very thoughtful meditation, and then he heard the vibration, tapas, tapas, which austerity. And austerity means discipline, focus, right? Renunciation of everything, but the idea of service to the Lord. And it takes many forms in different ages. It's shown itself by different forms of austerity, different practices of Dharma. But Hiranyakasipu had eliminated that, and now they're very happy. So this is also a very good prayer. We just want to do bhakti according to our eligibility. Now, the inhabitants of Pritaloka. This is the ancestors, right? Let us offer our respectful obeisance unto Lord Narasimha, the maintainer of the religious principles of the universe. He has killed Hiranyakasipu, the demon, who by force enjoyed all the offerings of the Shraddha ceremonies performed by our sons and grandsons on the anniversaries of our death, and who drank the water with sesame seeds offered in holy places of pilgrimage. By killing this demon, O Lord, you have taken back all this stolen property from his abdomen by piercing it with your nails. We therefore wish to offer our respectful obeisance to you. Right, we're supposed to get these offerings. He took them, right? And now you've set the universe straight, and now we can have our offerings back. Remember, this is part of the root cause of Indra's anger at the time of the Leela at Govardhan, where he tried to flood Vrindavan because the inhabitants of Braj, under Sri Nanda Maharaj, had stopped offering to him and began offering to Giriraj. So they were upset because by these offerings they become purified and eligible to take higher births, demigod planets, etc., freed from any possibility of malingering sin that they had in previous lifetimes. He's interfered with the order of the universe, the Varnashram system which you created for the gradual evolution and purification. We want our offerings so that we can progress in this system. Right? So they're not really directly speaking about devotion to the Lord. This is very indirect. Now, Siddhaloka, the inhabitants of Siddhaloka. O Lord Narasimha, because we belong to Siddhaloka, we automatically achieve perfection in all 8 kinds of mystic power. That's that planet. They are fully endowed with that. Extraordinary beings. Yet, Hiranyakasipu was so dishonest that by the strength of his power and austerity, he took away our powers. Thus he became very proud of his mystic strength. Now, because this rogue has been killed by your nails, we offer our respectful obeisance to you. We got our power back. Remember in the Bhajan Rahasya, in the 2nd chapter, there are 4 kinds of anarthas, right? And one kind of anartha, is asat trishna, right? Attachment to temporary things, right? And they can be defined like the desire for happiness in this world, elevation of the heavenly planets, also the acquisition of mystic power, which the yogis do. That's why they perform their yogic processes so long. You can only get those by also acknowledging bhakti and devotion to the Lord. But it's a special form of bhakti devi that rewards these material benefits. It's not Shuddha bhakti, the transcendental bhakti. It's a special expansion. This is described in the Madhurya Kadambini of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And she awards the benefits that people accrue by performing their various activities in the Varnashram Dharma system. And so worship of the Lord is there, but it's mixed, right? Karma Mishra, Jnana Mishra, Aropa Siddha Bhakti, right? Different Sangha Siddha Bhakti, different bhakti mixed with different intentions, different desires. So they're very happy with their mystic powers, right? And they're pious, they do good for the world, and they recognize the Lord as the source of that power, but they're thanking Lord Narasimha for restoring that, right? So obviously there's some mixture there, right? The inhabitants of Vidyadharalok Parade are acquired power to appear and disappear in various ways according to varieties of meditation, was banned by that foolish Hiranyakasipu because of his pride in his superior bodily strength and his ability to conquer others. Now, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has killed him, just as if the demon were an animal. Unto that supreme pastime form of Lord Narasimha, we eternally offer our respectful obeisance. Another group of devotees, these Vidyadhara inhabitants, definitely devotees, but again, with mixed desires, just like in this world. Vast majority of all of us are devotees, and we have mixed desires, right? They're seeing the Lord directly in front of them, and they're thanking Him for restoring their material powers. Yeah, okay. And they're not able to pacify the Lord. Remember that during all these prayers, the Lord is not becoming pacified. He's still roaring. He's still angry. They're expressing gratitude, but there's not reciprocation yet, because the Lord only reciprocates fully. He says, Yeya tam mam prapadyante tangstataiva bhajamyaham, right? According to how you approach me, I will reciprocate. So the inhabitants of Nagaloka, the snake planet, the most sinful Hiranyakasipu, took away all the jewels on our hoods and all our beautiful wives. Now, since his chest has been pierced by your nails, you are the source of all pleasure to our wives. Thus we together offer our respectful obeisance to you. So their wives were returned, their jewels, their wealth, and their powers. They also have mystic powers. And the wives were very satisfied, and devotional sentiments are definitely awakened, but they're also together. Oh, I'm back with my husband, I'm back with my wife, right? So Srila Prabhupada says that Hiranyakashipu represents what government has become in the Kali Yuga. In the Kali Yuga, the government is just, they're rogues and plunderers, right? And as long as people have intense material desire and they're not evolved in devotional sentiments, they're going to offer various material solutions and various gradations or versions of that solution. But it's all ultimately for their own aggrandizement first and foremost, right? Nobody in this world does anything except for their own pleasure. Even altruism and sacrifice is meant for one's own happiness, glorification, recognition by others, or tax breaks, or favor from the government. And there's always motive behind everything. And the more Kali Yuga progresses, the more the rogues and thieves take over in government. And you can see the ultimate degradation of government is atheistic government, right? Wherever government undermines religious principle, right? And that means the more left you go towards socialism, communism, the state sponsored idea is that religion has no place there. But other forms of government that recognize religious value, religious principles, religious guidelines, that is favorable. It may be still mixed with intense material desire, but something is there. And that is much better than the alternative. Of course, if you go to the far right, then ultimately far right and far left merge together in their mentality and in their practices. They both become restrictive, totalitarian, and atheistic, right? But wherever the religion, I'm sorry, wherever the government is oppressing the citizens, like this Hiranyakasipu, he oppressed us. He even took away all our money, took away all our wives. In the 12th canto, it said if Kali Yuga progresses, taxation will become so oppressive that people will flee and run to the forest. Right now in America, we're seeing that to some small degree. There are certain cities which, over the decades, were very desirable locations for different reasons, but the taxation has become so oppressive that now people are fleeing those cities, business fleeing, citizens fleeing, and even states. People say, I just can't take this burden anymore, I have to go somewhere else. So, if God came right now and said, oh, New York, New Jersey, California, now there will be no taxes here. Everyone go, joy, hooray for Jesus, or whatever form of God they worship. Now we don't have to pay any taxes anymore. Thank you, Jesus. And isn't a lot of religion like that? They're all praying like that. Now all the Manus offered their prayers as follows. As your order carriers, O Lord, we the Manus are the lawgivers for human society. But because of the temporary supremacy of this great demon, Hiranyakashipu, our laws for maintaining Varnashram Dharma were destroyed. O Lord, now that you have killed this great demon, we are in our normal condition. Kindly order us, your eternal servants, what to do now. Generally, the Manus, Srila Prabhupada said, are sons of Surya. And in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in the beginning, Imam Vivashvate Yogam Prakavan. What is that? How does that go? Oh, God. Vivashvan Manave Praha Manor Ikva Kave Bravit, right? So in the beginning, I taught this to the sun god Vivashvan and then to his sons Manu. And then the children of the Manus, the different kings, they heard it. So Manus are generally great devotees with the prescribed service of establishing Varnashram, right, for the protection and gradual elevation of the citizens. And so they're thanking the Lord for giving them back their service, right? So that's very nice, very nice. We can't say to what extent any Manu is very exalted or not, but in general, they're great devotees, great devotees. And in this case, they're just praying about that. Varnashram in and of itself is not the highest or the purest form of service to the Lord. When Ramananda Roy uses that as the first answer to Mahaprabhu's request to know what is the goal of life and how do we achieve it, he says, Varnashrama Chavarata Purushena Param, right? That he quotes Padma Purana, the Lord is pleased by the performance of Varnashram. And the verse says there's actually no other way. But Mahaprabhu dismisses this and said, oh, this is external. Tell me something more. Because Varnashram does not speak to the identity of the soul and the soul's eternal loving relationship with the Lord. It's a process of achieving material happiness and, according to your adhikar, your eligibility, gradual elevation, right? Now the Prajapatis offered their prayers. O Supreme Lord, Lord of even Brahma and Shiva, we the Prajapatis were created by you to execute your orders, but we were forbidden by Hiranyakashipu to create any more good progeny. Now the demon is lying dead before us, his chest pierced by you. Let us therefore offer our respectful obeisance unto you, whose incarnation in this form of pure goodness is meant for the welfare of the entire universe. we hear of many different kinds of Prajapatis. Prajapati Daksha was a bewildered individual, pious by material consideration, advanced and respectable by material consideration, but he insulted the great devotee, Lord Shiva, and that was his downfall, right? On the other hand, there are other personalities, yogis, personalities like uh, uh, Kashyap and Aditi, who populate the universe. There are others um, who do this, and they are great devotees. So it depends on your. The role of Prajapati could be taken by many different kinds of persons. There are many, many Prajapatis. And in the early parts of creation, they are the sons of Lord Brahma or grandsons, and they're ordered, you know, populate, create progeny, populate the different planets with high quality individuals. Right? So the inhabitants of Gandharva Loka prayed, Your Lordship, we ever engage in your service by dancing and singing in dramatic performances. But this Hiranyakasipu, by the influence of his bodily strength and valor, brought us under his subjugation. Now he has been brought to this low condition by your Lordship. What benefit can result from the activities of such an upstart as Hiranyakashipu? The Gandharvas are like the ultimate movie stars and ballet dancers and performers in the universe. And they have devotional inclinations because whenever the Lord is doing something wonderful, they all gather, dance, sing, glorify, right? They're definitely devotees. But they also, have many pastimes where they're shown to be, they can be very lusty, they can be very unpredictable, um, petty, right? Uh, but again, within any group, there are going to be devotees of higher degree. But in general, being a Gandharva, it could be a very distracting situation. When Arjun went to visit his father, Lord Indra, the beautiful dancing girl, Gandharva Apsara, which one was it? Oh God, what's her name? Oh, I just had it. Oh God. Anyway, she wanted to enjoy with him. She was Indra's consort. She was so beautiful. And Arjun thought, well, because she's a consort of Indra, she's like my mother. And so he thought, no, I can't have relations with you. Right? Oh, I just saw something. Have we been having trouble with this? I'll turn off the camera. Okay. Oh, God, her name is coming to me. Wasn't Menaka? She's another one. Anyway. And when he wouldn't satisfy her, she cursed him. You should become a eunuch. And then Indra pacified her somewhat and explained how she shouldn't do it. So the curse was modified to be for a year at the time of his choice. And that's when he became the instructor, ultimately for the young princess who became the wife of his son, right? So that's the Gandharva Lokas, right? The inhabitants of the Charana planet said, O Lord, because you have destroyed the demon Hiranyakashipu, who is always a stake in the hearts of all honest men, we are now relieved. And we take shelter of your lotus feet, which award the conditioned soul liberation from materialistic contamination. So that's a nice prayer and an aspiration, right? You killed the demon. He was an obstacle to our devotion, right? And we want liberation from material contamination. That's a step. But liberation from material contamination itself is not, in and of itself, is not bhakti, right? It's a stepping stone to bhakti. But bhakti requires that we actually cultivate genuine spiritual sentiments and ultimately awareness of our internal real identity and our eternal real service, right? And relationship. The inhabitants of Yakshaloka prayed, O controller of the 24 elements, we are considered the best servants of your lordship because of rendering services pleasing to you. Yet we engaged as palanquin carriers by the order of Hiranyakasipu, the son of Diti. O Lord, in the form of Nrsingadev, you know how this demon gave trouble to everyone. But now you have killed him, and his body is mixing with the 5 material elements. I don't know what their service is. I know the yakshas are under the guidance of um, the treasure of the demigods, right? And they're his servants. So sometimes they're kind of sketchy personalities. But in this case, they're considered, they're self-identifying as servants of the Lord, best servants. But I've never read what they actually do. But that's a nice prayer. We want to be reinstated into your service. Because Kuvera is a great devotee as well, right? He's a dear friend of Narad. His sons were deviated, but because of Narad's affection for Kuvera, his sons were saved. They had to be trees for a while, but ultimately they got that benediction, being delivered directly by the Lord himself, by the wishes of Narad. So the inhabitants of Kimpurush Loka said, we are insignificant living entities, and you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller. Therefore, how can we offer suitable prayers unto you? When this demon was condemned by devotees because they were disgusted with him, he was then killed by you. Nice prayer, full of humility, desiring of offering, appropriate prayers. Srila Prabhupada quotes Krishna and Bhagavad Gita, those 2 verses, beginning with Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya and Praditaranaya Sadhunam, right? So then the inhabitants of Vaitalika Loka, dear Lord, because of chanting your spotless glories in great assemblies and arenas of sacrifices, we were accustomed to great respect from everyone. This demon, however, usurped that position. Now, to our great fortune, you have killed this great demon exactly as one cures a chronic disease. That's very interesting. Now, these were obviously like the Brahmanas, who are singers in the assemblies of sacrifice, honoring the Lord, different things like that. And they sing very beautiful prayers and glories of the Lord. But they're also saying, and because of that, we got great respect. Now, whether they're saying that out of humility or whether in that humility they're recognizing we miss that. We're your devotees and we want to be honored and respected as that. Now we couldn't do this for so long. Now we've been restored to our position. Could be because we have heard from Raghunath Das that this desire for pratishta and respect and honor from others is the last subtle obstacle in the practice of bhakti. That even in the practice of bhakti, you can become afflicted by that desire, and that will impede the development of the actual ultimate goal. And as we heard in the 3rd chapter, as long as we desire that, we can't chant purely and we can't chant constantly, right? Amanina manadena, right? We have to be devoid of the desire for respect and offer to others. So that's being mentioned there. And the Kanaras, O Supreme Controller, we are ever existing servants of your Lordship. But instead of rendering service to you, we were engaged by this demon in his service, constantly and without remuneration. This sinful man has now been killed by you. Therefore, O Lord Narasimhadev, our master, we offer our respectful obeisance unto you. Please continue to be our patron. Right, they were forcibly engaged by this demon. They feel like they lost their connection, their service. This is a contrast. Remember, Prahlad, he never felt constrained by fear or the order of his father to give up his service. And in the face of terrifying threats and punishment, he even chastised his father and corrected him fearlessly. Right? This is what distinguishes him, even as a small boy, from all the rest. All of these persons were obstructed in their service by Hiranyakasipu. Only Prahlad, in his simplicity and his unwavering faith and devotion, was unaffected. And thus his service is controlling Lord Narasimhadev, as we'll see. Now, the associates of Lord Vishnu in Vaikuntha offered this prayer. So now some associates have come down, right? O Lord, our supreme giver of shelter, today we have seen your wonderful form as Lord Narasimhadev, meant for the good fortune of all the world. O Lord, we can understand that Hiranyakasipu was the same Jai who was engaged in your service, but was cursed by Brahmanas and who thus received the body of a demon. We understand that his having now been killed by you is your special mercy upon him. So they're praying, but they're eternally liberated, and they're just explaining this. And they're saying, oh, even we have not seen this form before. And this is really amazing and inspiring and thrilling to us to see this. And your eternal servant, this gatekeeper, Jai, was cursed in this pastime. And Srila Prabhupada explains that they were cursed by, the four Kumaras. And the Lord accepted this cursing of his servants and agreed that they would have to go to the material world and then would return to Vaikuntha after serving the term of the curse. And Jai and Vijay were very much perturbed, he says, but the Lord advised them to act as enemies, for then they would return after 3 births. Otherwise, ordinarily, they would have to take 7 births. With this authority, Jai and Vijay acted as the Lord's enemies, and now these two were dead. All the Vishnu Dutas understood that the Lord's killing of Hiranyakashipu was special mercy bestowed upon him. Right? And there is a verse, I think it comes in the next chapter, where Hiranyakashipu is addressed as Sri Hiranyakashipu. Maybe it was in that previous chapter. I was reading the purport, and it said, why was he addressed as Sri Hiranyakashipu? Because he's a great demon, because he was blessed to be killed by the Lord in this extraordinary pastime. Thus he received great mercy of the Lord. And of course, we also understand that he's the eternal servant of the Lord, although that was hidden from the minds and hearts of most people. They didn't realize that. The Vishnu Dutas realized that. And just like Kamsa is glorified because by his pastime, he caused Krishna to go to Vrindavan, so all the Brajbasis appreciate Kamsa. Because by his actions, Krishna went to Vrindavan and engaged there for so many years, right? So anyone who has a role in the pastimes of the Lord, and Hiranyakashipu certainly did, and by his horrific actions shows the glories of this beautiful, perfect devotee in the form of a small boy, Prahlad Maharaj. So those are those prayers. Interesting, right? They're prayers, but they're not mostly very elevated prayers. Thanks for helping us out. And now we'll get back to our duties and service. but they're not going to be the same level of prayer, so enriched with devotion and knowledge of the Lord as Prahlad's, right? So we'll hear about those. We'll read those tomorrow, Prahlad's prayers. Okay. So, went a little long, but this glorification of the Lord, it must be. It cannot but be. So, thanking Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, all the devotees, our Guru Varga, Gaur Premanande, Haribol.